Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Short disclaimer, I'm officially employee of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland, so whenever I will be saying, there will be only my opinion, not the opinion of the ministry itself. The paper presents a basic outline of a planned book I'm trying to desperately write, but being a bureaucrat is a burden that stops me from finishing it. And it comes from the time when I used to work in Belarus in embassy covering economic affairs between 2009 and 2012. Back then, one senior diplomat told me that when he was preparing first to go to Belarus in 1999, it was already economy on the verge of collapse. But it still works. The usual simple answer to that is because Russia pays. But I think that this explanation is too simple. We need to look at the model itself of the way the Belarusian economy is managed. Sorry. So I'm using two concepts. First is patrimonialism, that goes from Max Weber and then was expanded by Richard Pipes in his book Russia Under the Old Regime, to describe the situation, especially under Ivan the Terrible. The patrimonial economy in the patrimonial system is not a market economy, a rational economy, as Max Weber would put it. It's an economy that its goal is to fulfill the needs of the leader that leads the given system. Yuri Latov, Russian historian, calls this власть собственность, or power ownership relations, so that political power and ownership of all assets in the given country are directly connected. So the lord, the political leader, is the ultimate owner of everything. Sorry again. Second concept that I think can be applicable to Belarusian economic management is the age of chaos concept. It was initiated with the in the mathematical and physical fields to describe systems that describe systems that are traveling on verge between being complex and disintegrate. According to Langdon, the systems that travel on this verge of chaos are very effective. They can do computational very well. Application of this concept to economy is done inter alia by Alexander Yakimovich, who claims that this is the age of chaos concept describes very well centrally planned economies and explains why they disintegrated in the 80s and 90s. He says that system cannot travel on the edge of chaos indefinitely. The more efficient is the central planner, the more complex the system becomes, and then the harder it is to control it. One of suggestions is that back in the 80s, economical planners simply didn't have tools good enough to manage complex economies because the theory of chaos was only being slowly developed. The book supposed to be about policies between 2009 and 2017. here I just want to say about three elements that I think are interesting for this two concepts. First issue is a privatization. It's a never-ending story in Belarus. You have all these plans and lists that are regularly published. For some time, these were 4-year plans. Then you have yearly plans. Then you have additional lists that are agreed, for example, with World Bank, and then they are published. Very rarely this translates into privatization. As you know, main investors in Belarus remains Russia. So if you have foreign participation in privatization, there's a good chance that this will be a Russian company. Example of this is privatization in 2009 of Belaruski Pромышленно-строительный Bank. Here is important that before President Lukashenko issued a decree, actually this company was actually on a privatization list. That's one of the few examples that something that was on a list was finally privatized. So before President Lukashenko issued a decree that approved this privatization, Sberbank organized a syndicated loan of 200 million from 4 Russian banks, and only after the resources were transferred to Belarusian budget, the privatization of BPS Bank was approved. Second example is from 2011. That's purchase of 3 companies by machine production plant Amkodor, or rather company. The head of the council of directors of this company is Alexander Shakutin, who is also a member and one of the founders of movement Belarus, that is rumored to become at some point maybe a party supporting President Lukashenko. He also have Amkodor actually is owned by a Nepalese businessman, so this can be to some extent considered foreign investment. Exchange rate policy during two crises of 2011 and 2015. First reaction in both cases was introducing of different administrative tools, closing of the market, shortening the period of trades, even for 1 month. During the crisis in 2011, for 1 month, trades were suspended. At all costs, government was escaping the need to introduce liquidity in the formulation of the price of exchange rate policy of the exchange rate, and even now, even after the crisis in 2015, some elements of administrative control over the exchange rate remains. Finally, probably the most popular and the well-known issue, the relations between Belarus and Russia in energy sphere. These are 2 elements: gas relation and issue of oil and oil products. For me, gas discussion is endless game between Belarus and Russia. We want to pay less. No, you will pay more. In some instances, Minsk pays how much they want. They don't pay the proper price. Then Russians claim that there is a payment that needs to be done to cover the difference. Sometimes there are blockages of gas export, of oil export, and then there is another agreement. Sometimes it is connected to agreement of Belarusian government to participate in Russian-centered integration. Sometimes this is a economic decision like agreement to privatize Bieltransgas in 2010 and in 2011. In oil and oil products, this is similar, as probably you all know. Russia exports oil to Belarus that is processed in Belarusian refineries and sold to foreign markets, Ukraine, UK, different world markets. As it was already said, Russians are implementing different tools to lower so-called oil rent from the difference between the price of oil for Belarus and the price of oil products exported. Belarus is trying to avoid this. An example of this of a way of avoiding this were two situations when Belarus some of its oil products declared as solvents, and then they were, because you could add some chemical additions, then you export it as solvent, and then on the other side of the border it's again an oil product. The same was done in 2014 when some of oil products were disguised as bitumen. And finally, some conclusions. So in my narrative, Belarusian economy is patrimonial. This is a state that the rationale that lies behind economic decision is political. So its goal is to maintain Alexander Lukashenko control in the country. As for the age of chaos concept, long-term planning never really work, especially in contemporary economies. Therefore, decision-making in Belarusian economy is short-term. But again, as the age of chaos states, because the economy travels on the verge of chaos, it can very well react to crises. From our perspective, of course, this looks like permanent crisis management, but from the logic of the system, it works perfectly well until it fulfills its goal. Any reforms in patrimonial system will be done only to the extent that they serve the interest of the leader. So, and that's the only reason why they can be done. However, this concept suggests that there are limitations of this model. So first, as stated by Jakimowicz, the system cannot indefinitely travel on the edge of chaos. There will be a moment where it becomes too complex to be managed. And because of its patrimonialistic characteristic, it's tied to the main leader and the main decision maker. So whenever he disappears, the system may not be able to react to the crises. Finally, I think these two concepts may be used even in the future because this way of thinking of economy and managing of economy will be present for some time in the worldview of Belarusian decision makers. Thank you so much.